Howdy doody everybody, I hope you're doing well today. In today's video we're going to be talking about through my Velkhana build. You would have seen it in our PvP match that I had against Paradise, who is actually here.
I'm back. Good to be back.
It's good to be back, and it's good to have him back. We're going to talk through all the moves that I put on there, because you guys want to see these build videos. You guys can suggest what the next build video is that we do on this channel, but before you suggest that, leave a like on the video and subscribe so that we can grow this community. Everybody's loving Monster Hunter stories so far. I hope you guys are building your stuff. You guys can tell me how far you've got in the campaign, or if you finished, or what you're building, what your current project is. Are you building up a Mizu to be some water god? Are you building up a Kirin to slap down people and kick with the back legs of that furious thunder energy that Kirin delivers? But let's get into the actual video, and we will talk through all of the skills that we have on our Velkhana. If anybody doesn't know, actually, me and Paradise have been discussing this page. This page is a lifesaver, shows you all the skills that are on the monster at that time, and it is just beautiful, beautiful. So
I can already see there's a few differences from my Velkhana build, so I'm excited to see what you've gone with. I'm excited to yoink your genes to make my build better.
So yeah, that's the thing.
All that good stuff.
Paradise has a amazing Velkhana build out on his channel, so definitely go check that out if you haven't. But I thought I'd bring him along so you can critique my one, and kind of we can come up with the ultimate like Velkhana build to end them all. Essentially, this is going to be a mix of PvE and PvP build. It's going to be a hybrid build. If you just want to build specifically for PvP, you can switch some stuff out. If you just want to build for PvE, you can switch some stuff out and make that appropriate to whatever function that you want. Hopefully, people listen to what I just said.
That's actually a really important point, and that is the same for my that's why my build titles is PvP and PvE, because we're doing this thing where we're doing hybrid ones, so we don't have to do like two right now. I think you probably will as well at some point, do a separate one that's like purely PvP, but at the minute it's just a bit nicer to have that, you know, one monster that does both.
Yeah, you would have to farm out like what 12 Velkhanas per thing, like basically. So
yeah,
it's a lot of farming. So I've gone with hybrid for now. Yeah, it's a lot of tickets. Yeah, so let's get into the build now. You can see my Velkhana, I think it's been juiced up. It's got all the nutrients and stuff on it. So that's a super important one to start off with. Make sure that you're putting your nutrients on your monsters so that they can get those elemental damage buffs and the defense buff and the health buffs, which is essential in my eyes to remain competitive and doing more damage. But the first gene that we have here, we've got triple technicals across the top and triple technicals on the right hand side as well. I don't know if this could be made a bit more optimal, but this is what I've gone with for the format so far.
I'm excited to see that this one here, Vigilance, is actually not on my build, and I have reasoning for that, and I'm sure you have reasoning to have it on your build. So I'll give you my reasoning as to why I have it. So if you open up the skill description, this is one of those skills where when you're below 50% health, you get like a boost to a stat, right? Now, on one hand, I think that the skills that apply like this for the rider could be really, really good, because when you do a head-to-head, even if you win, you can't die. You will always survive with like at least 1 HP, right?
Yeah.
So for the rider, you could plan around it and do that. Whereas for the monster, although that still applies, in PvP it's quite risky to gamble it on winning the head-to-head. That being said, in that match where you used this against me, you crit me that one time, remember? And
yeah, exactly.
Almost one shot my Velkhana.
Yeah.
So that must be a good crit boost, that it actually did crit me in literally the last match.
That's the thing that I've noticed about these minus 50% ones. They're actually the good skills. Like stuff like heroic, they actually drastically improve your monsters. So I've been putting a lot of them onto my monsters, because while you're saying it's a risky maneuver to have, if it pays off, it's huge. And some of the time, I don't know what's happening with you. You put my monster to sleep, and then next round, like, I can't really do anything. I might as well YOLO the monster, sacrifice it, or do something else. So Vigilance is just very cool. I feel like even in PvE, you can get that like extra crit off on the damage and stuff like that. But let's go on to the next skill. Obviously this is a passive skill, so it doesn't take any kinship, but Vigilance is our first skill that we have on there, and that is boosted crit weight. And then we have our Diamond Wave. This is one of Velkhana's like just intrinsic skills, the base skills that Velkhana comes with, and this is one that if you've played Monster Hunter World Iceborne, I just nearly forgot where Velkhana is from, you would have seen this move a number of different times, and it is that spice where it just comes down, it kind of creates like a whole
it's like ice walls,
crescendoing like wave basically of ice walls. Did you notice like the defense increase? I haven't.
I got a few. Right, before we actually talk about the move,
Yeah.
the Velkhana you fight in the actual story, like in the Elder's Lair,
Huge.
not it has okay. There are moves in the game that exist, but we don't get, even though they're the same move. So the Velkhana, the boss that does Ice Wave, has a different animation than this Ice Wave, and it's way cooler. And I don't like that. Why does the boss get the cool version of the move that we also have? So that's just one side tangent to mention. I don't know if you noticed that, but the boss's version
I do
is
wonder
way
that.
cooler.
It's not like, do they have to do like additional moves? Because like it's still hitting 3 people, right? Like, I don't know what's going on there because there's like loads of moves in the game that we just don't have, like for
like visually.
Visually for Vel,
Yeah.
and just don't have at all, right? Because didn't Vel kind of have like a bunch of different moves that we don't get?
Not only like there was like Zero Sum Calamity, or maybe
Yeah.
that's the kinship move. But there was also like I won't spoil anything, but at the end of the game there was some really cool stuff that we don't get. So, so there's that. But to get to the actual stats, so heavy damage to all enemies, which is a big like wallop to everyone. Strong damage. The defense boost, I actually would say I kind of noticed it in PvE. It did make him more tanky, but I actually chose not to keep this move and instead to keep the other heavy move that he does that has the stun and the defense debuff on the enemies, because it's like, do you need like 250 cost technical attacks? So I chose to get rid of one because I didn't feel like I need both. So this was the one I chose to drop because it's a defense buff rather than like an offensive debuff, you know?
I'm always scared to drop the big moves because those ones are the ones who do damage, and I don't know which one does more damage.
Yeah.
So that's something that we need to test, because if you're doing a huge move like this, you want it to basically one-shot your enemies in PvP, or you want it to do like mass damage in PvE. And in PvE, once you do a move like this, you probably don't have gauge left. So I went with the defensive version for that because I'm probably going to take damage afterwards if I don't win like the head-to-head or something like that. So
well, there is also the counterpoint. The other one that does a debuff, it's a big heavy hitting move. If they die to that move, they don't get the debuff. They just respawn, you know, with clean. So that is a counterpoint.
Then we got head-to-head master. I think this is going to be a huge one for all of like the ice skills in general. I feel like the ice skill like selection isn't that great. There isn't that many skills to choose from, so there are going to be similar stuff across builds until they kind of bring in more ice genes. What is the ice monster that's coming in for the DLC? Do we know that?
Just having a think.
Is there an ice
sure
monster?
there's an...
I know it'll be
that.
Elder Frost Gammoth. That's the way it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Next up, though, is like the Glav and the Astalos variants in the next August update. So
Cool.
that's even further away.
True. So yeah, head-to-head master. This just makes it so that your gauge fills up incredibly quick. You could obviously pair this with like Soul Kinship and get your gauge off like massively, but I really like stuff that fills up my kinship gauge. I feel like it gives me a lot of freedom to do what I want to do, even after just winning that one head-to-head. In PvP, a lot of the time it is just basically that one head-to-head that you need to win to kind of clutch it up and get going. In PvE, you just kind of really want to get your biggest skills going as quickly as possible on cycle. I saw a really good strategy actually in multiplayer where someone just left their bar on full kinship so that their Teostra could essentially just do supernova back to back, because that is more beneficial than a kinship skill. So they just left it at full bar. And
that is a good strategy. Yeah. It is random what move they do. Like there is I don't know if it's RNG or if it's like they cycle. There's some kind of change in what move they pick to do. But do remember that when you have like full kinship gauge and you ride, including in PvP, even if you get knocked off the monster, you don't lose a heart. They survive with 1 health. And when you're riding, you can also you can't do all the moves, but you can do some of the moves. So, And your kinship skill obviously hits really hard. Will probably one-shot them in PvP, but in PvE, the kinship attack also like staggers the monster for that turn. So it is a gamble.
It also adds your rider's damage to the actual monster's attacks, which is something that I noticed the other day. So if you're doing like 800 with your monster normally, and then you get on top of your monster and you do the ride mechanic, then you'll add your 300 damage to it, so you're doing over 1,000. Then we have the toss gene, which I don't even think is all that great, to be honest. Like in terms of ice moves,
this one.
Yeah, I think everyone uses this move. But, yeah.
The reason I use this one, I'm sure it's the reason you use yours, is that when you look at all of the ice power attacks, this is like words as written, the best one. Like it's heavy damage, it's a medium skill seal chance. Skill seal very good in PvP, very good in not that great for PvE, but PvP very good. And because it only costs 21 for a heavy hit with that status, it looks like the best power attack. And I think the only thing it doesn't do is for like PvE purposes, when a monster is like knocked over, it doesn't apply that auto crit, like it will just hit. So there are certain moves that don't apply the crits on knockdowns.
Are there any weapons that like do skill seal like for the rider? Do you know that?
There's not, but I know that the gun lance can do the individual seal skills, so like tech seal, power seal.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Which could be a really good meta, like in PvP, and people aren't doing it yet.
But because I thought of a scenario where essentially like the hunter can inflict like skill seal on like both parties by doing something, and then the monster can inflict stench, and then what can the person do, because they can't use an item to take the skill seal off of them, and they can't do any skills. All they can do is attack, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that any weapons have skill seal on them, but yeah, you can do the individual attacks, which is actually a lot stronger than you might think.
Okay.
If you've got your Rajang out and I power seal you, well, now you're only going to be able to do like speed or attack. You can't do your thunder crack, and it when you start to know what moves monsters have, I think that's going to be like a big
huge
factor.
So this is another move. This is Velkhana's second move, and this is the one that you've opted for, but I don't really use this much, so you can tell me more about Blizzard Breath.
So again, like heavy damage to all, so both this and the other one, as written down, are like the same damage, but there probably is a difference between them damage-wise, I'm not too sure. But for PvE, the stun and defense lower is like chef's kiss. That is what you want. You're hitting them harder. The stun works so well in PvE. I don't know what it is, but like the stun works in PvE in my experience. And the defense lower is just like higher DPS across the board. For PvP, I've not noticed the stun happen in PvP, and I've also tried using talismans that have flinch on them for my rider to stun, and I've never seen it happen. So I'm not even sure if stun works in PvP, but the defense lower you will definitely feel, when you get hit the following turn if you survived it.
Nice. I think stun is like a good one if it does work in PvP and it stops you the enemy moving. Like, do we know like the full description of like what stun does? It's just like it just stops the enemy from doing a turn, right?
It's like you hit the monster and it has a chance to make them flinch. Yeah. So like it's like a literal flinch in Pokemon where you do a flinch move. If it procced, they just don't get to attack you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, then we have Cyclone, which I'm thinking of changing because it's light enemy to all enemies, and I thought this was going to perform similar to the Trap Cyclone on the Sand Barrows and stuff like that. But this is like the one that I've taken off of Barrow, and it doesn't have that continuous like damage effect. It only has like a single hit on it, and it obviously has the skill seal, but that's not really proccing all that much for me. So this definitely can be swapped out for something else, but for now it fills a slot and performs very, very well. I might swap this out for Tenacity because Tenacity means that my monster can't get one shot, which is a huge skill. Yeah.
I will say I've used a different one than this. I used the Smash gene for mine, but if I think that I would swap that one out on this build, and the reason is I'm assuming you still have Icicle, which is effectively this same skill but better and pretty much the same cost. So the best use of this is that you have an 18 cost AoE skill seal, right? but your icicle is already filling that slot for you. So I would swap that one out.
Yeah, this is why I have to test my stuff in PvP before I go out, because I know how this like really functions and if it's going to do well. Because even though it says light attack to all enemies, if it was hitting hard enough and the skill was proccing like enough, then I would be able to just keep this on a monster and it will just be like a god tier type move that I could have on there. It's kind of a sleeper that not many people are using or know about, but you have to really get out in the field and test the builds out to really know what they're doing. So this is the other move that we're talking about, and this is Icicle, which is 1 cost more but does heavy damage to random enemies and inflicts has a medium chance to skill seal.
So the last one was low chance, so this one's just like straight up better for 1 cost.
Straight up better for like literally 1 cost. So there are not all moves are made equal. Obviously the other one hit more than one enemy, so it was all enemies, but the fact that it was a lower chance doesn't fill me with confidence that I'll be able to get that skill seal off. So maybe I'm not getting any value there, and then I've obviously got the increased power rate double chance on here by upgrading it and stacking the genes double time. But you guys should definitely, if you're using Velkhana, try this skill out and see how it performs for you guys in battle. But I feel like this one, when you're in a little bit of a pickle and you need a move, this is one of those blank skills that you can just kind of throw out there and not necessarily do a head-to-head, and it will hit that enemy that in the way that you need it to hit that enemy. So that's very good. Do you have Icicle on your one?
Yeah, I have it. I have it. I don't think I'm not sure if I've maxed mine out yet, because no, I have maxed it out. That's what I use my Velkhana dupes for. Yeah. I will say though, I don't feel like I get skill seal applied as much as I would like with this move. I don't know if it has, even though it says medium, maybe it's like, maybe medium is a threshold and it's on the lower end of the threshold. Because mine is, I just checked, mine is ++, so it has the rate ++ like yours does, and it is a medium chance. So I would think that it's going to apply most of the time. But in our recent PvP sessions, when I've done Icicle, it's not put it on you. So, yeah. It's a good move on paper, but I didn't see it prop for me. Maybe I got unlucky.
All right, and then the next one is the god tier move that we found out about
existence
yesterday. So the biggest secret about this is this has a chance to kind of like go before everything. So this will go before like even items. So if you're fighting someone in PvP and they're trying to throw a potion on themselves, they will not be able to move before this. This will move before a kinship attack as well. So yeah, it's pretty nuts. Like it will move before anything essentially if that first strike is there. So
I hate this move so much. Like, it's so hard to play against.
Yeah.
I actually did a little looking into these moves, right?
Yeah.
And there are other moves that do this too.
Yeah,
for other genes, for other colors, and other attack types. Like there are power and speed versions of this as well.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, okay, if I'm low, I have to either heal or do a power attack.
Yeah.
But if you have it on all of your monsters in a different type, then I am screwed. And it doesn't matter what you got. It's just chance at that point.
Yeah.
So this is a very powerful skill. After that fight, I actually took one of my Kashalas, because you get it on Kashala, this particular one, and I put it on my Velkhana. So my Velkhana has it now. So thank you, TC.
No. But I actually took it off of my Rajang. So the Rajang has the power version, and I'm thinking that is the move that really makes him function well, because there's a lot of times when I was like waiting around for things to happen and stuff that happen, and he hits hard anyway, and he doesn't have the Thunder Gene on my Rajang, and he doesn't have this. So maybe applying that move to my Rajang will just be very like just dangerous on that. So we'll have to see. But I did kind of allude to something that I've been noticing before the video started. But before I talk about that, let's just go through the skills and just kind of rotate through them so you guys can see them all at once, what they are and what they do. We're going to go through. So Vigilance, that's your crit rate boost. Ice Breath Gene, which is Diamond Wave, is your huge like Unga Bunga massive attack. Then you have your head-to-head gene, increased, kinship gauge, so you get increased kinship charge. Then we have our ice gene, we just want that get that extra damage. This is 40 plus to our ice damage. Then we get our ice launcher, which is a medium chance to inflict skill seal, heavy damage to one enemy, but obviously costs a little bit more than the icicle attack. Then you have your Blizzard Breath, which is ice damage to all enemies, inflicts stun and lowers rate. One of Paradise's favorites, but it's 50. Then you have the Ice Cyclone, which is swappable. I definitely wouldn't recommend putting this particular move on here, but it definitely fills a slot if you want a speed move on your Monstie rather than just having all of the technical and power types on there. Then we have Icicle, which we talked about. As a blank skill, is very good, inflicts skill seal. And then we have our God tier skill and Sonic Strike, which strikes before everything, just moves crazy quick, which is a huge point. Yeah, how do you feel like this build stacks up?
I think it's very solid. I think if you're looking at your PvP roster, you have, you know, Velkhana, Ice Attacker, very good when you're against things that are like weak to ice. I think like what's weak to ice is Inoga, Thunderlord Zinogre, yeah. Right? And there are several others that are weak to ice, so it's a good one to have in your team. Having that first strike attack skill means that you can swap him in and you have that threat of killing them before they can potion. You have the meaty AoE hits, which you can get the charge quite quickly from the head-to-head wins because of that head-to-head gene. And you have skill seal on pretty much every attack you have apart from the big ones. And skill seal, like, if that gets applied to you, you're just screwed until it's gone. So I think it's pretty solid, you know, I like it.
Okay, cool. I have a theory, though. Let's talk about what I alluded to earlier. So I have a theory. Because Velkhana, I don't know if you've noticed it. If you just leave Velkhana to just do a normal attack, that normal attack will out-damage any other attack that you do with any skill. So how can we build around that to make that a thing?
Well, you could put no skill attacks in.
Yeah.
And you could pile in... you could pile in all the other good things. So you could, in place of it, although you would it's difficult because you would want to go for ice bingos because that will apply to your auto attack.
Yeah.
So there are other like ice skills that you could probably slot in that are like more passive ones or like buffs, maybe like you know, boost ice attack, ice mantle and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm not sure if it is in stories too. I think it is. And I don't know what color gene it is, but I think there's a gene that gives you quick on your monster.
Yeah.
And if that is in stories too, and if it's an ice, then even better, because if you're just going for auto attacks, then you probably want quick as well, because Velkhana isn't the fastest.
So that's what we should do. We should go for passive buffs on the monster. So that's like ice armor, duplicate ice armor, the one that boosts like vigilance, all of that stuff, and just drop it on here and see how it actually like performs. And I think it will do incredibly well. It's just like you couldn't select what move the monster's going to be doing at that point. So that's the dangerous part, basically. It's just like YOLO on what move it's going to do.
You could also, like, because you've got the vigilance for the crit rate at below 50%.
Yeah.
Maybe if you piled in all the other ones, like heroics and stuff, even though they're not ice,
then
you let your Velkhana get low, then you use a surrogate gem on that turn and just watch him one-shot something without any repercussion.
Yep. Or does it put like White Shadow on him for like 2 moves and see how it goes. Anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. This was our Velkhana build. You guys can vote on what the next build is by saying the keyword of today's video, which is 26. I want this blank build. And then I'll go through and try to fill that in for you guys and make sure that we are making that build for you. I'm thinking there's a couple of monsters out there that I want to do. Rajang is definitely one that I really want to make a build on fairly soon. Paradise, what videos are you doing over the next coming days?
So we've got our PvP match that people haven't seen yet. One of my PvP strategies, which I think when people start to learn this, I think PvP is going to become a lot more harder. I think. And there's also going to be other like tips and guide videos as well.
All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining the video. Don't forget the keyword, should I say, key sentence, should I say, and then yeah, have a great day. You guys have been wonderful. Thanks for all the support in the videos. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget you can subscribe so you don't miss another video.